And how it came about is that my older brother, who was he was 25 at the time, he lived in Darwin, and he worked on the prawn boats.
Oh, okay,
And
yep.
my younger brother and myself, we lived in Adelaide, and my mother thought it would be a good idea for us to go up there and spend Christmas with him.
Oh, okay. So you'd flown up just for a holiday up here.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
when did you
So
actually get in?
we got there the week before Christmas.
Oh, so
Yeah.
you would have gone through seen all the warnings where originally they didn't think it was actually going to hit Darwin.
Correct. Correct. We were, believe it or not, on Christmas Eve, we were celebrating in the dawn until probably about midnight.
And that's when it all
And that,
started. The weather started
yeah, turning
going
pear
bad.
shaped.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Far
we
out.
we paid we paid no attention to the warnings whatsoever. Partially because my older brother, he had lived there for a while, and he just said, "Oh, this is quite common. We have it all the time, and they just veer off, and we get a bit of wild weather, but they don't come into land."
Yeah. Yep.
So we never really paid attention, and I must say that all of his friends, they were all of the same opinion, so nobody really cared.
No, and I think that was the same thing that a lot of other people have said to me is, yeah, because it happens all the time, they didn't really worry about it. And yeah, until it was too late.
Yeah. Well, if I would be absolutely honest, you know, the circumstances for myself and my younger brother, it was exciting. We'd never been through anything like it, and we thought it was fantastic.
That
So
Yeah, I think that's what Daryl said in his interview, that because he's into weather as well. So yeah, he thought it was actually quite exciting until the house was falling apart around him. Then he was
yeah.
like, okay, the walls are starting to move here. This may not be quite as good as we thought it was.
Well, see, there's a few things in my story that are probably a little bit novel. Was a because my mother and father had sent myself and my younger brother up to stay with my older brother for a holiday. That in itself was a little bit of an experience because she did not realize that my older brother was actually living in a bit of a commune,
Oh, okay, yep.
and for um, my younger brother and myself at that age, it was quite an experience to see young women walking around braless.
Oh, okay. You'd gone to the nude beach.
No, it was just the commune that we were in
Oh, okay.
was maybe a little bit, hippie orientated.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was quite novel in itself.
Oh,
Um,
being
and
15, yeah, it would be, eh?
oh yeah, but there was obviously a little bit of participation in some what would you call it? Not exactly tobacco.
Oh, okay. Yep, yep, yep. The wacky variety.
Correct.
Yeah, yep.
So this was all a very um, unbelievable experience for both myself and my younger brother.
Yep.
Um, Now, as far as the cyclone was concerned, what had happened, the house that we were staying in, which, by the way, there was probably, including ourselves, I think there was either 11 or 12 of us
Oh, it's
that
quite a
used
few
to live it.
people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But this house, I mean, it was, I'm not sure which street it was on, but it was probably maybe 3 blocks away from the town centre.
Yep.
And it was sort of like built on an embankment. So what it had is it had a lower floor, but the lower floor was sort of embedded into the embankment.
Yep.
And during the course of the cyclone, we lost the top story.
And
Right, so
yeah.
we lost the whole roof, the walls, everything, but the floor of the building was now our roof for the underside of the building.
Oh, so
So
you lost everything but that little bit that was in
correct.
the embankment.
Yes, yes, and it was actually extraordinary good luck because that little story downstairs actually the walls were actually glass louvers,
Yep.
but because this was the 1970s and because we were in a hippie commune, of course, what did they have as a ceiling decoration? They had all fishnets, you know,
Oh, yep.
where, and they used to, you'd have fishnet ceiling that would be like draped, and then they'd have like, cray pot bloody floats and all that kind of shit in there, all trendy shit.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
to cut a long story short, because of that, we could actually drape that down in front of the glass louvers, and that acted as a catch for the anything smashing the louvers, which did happen.
Yeah.
So,
That's
but at
lucky.
least we had made a barricade, and used mattresses to support the fishnet. So, but it was a very wild time. But as I said, before the actual event, we were at the Don celebrating Christmas Eve and had no uh, we had no essence of the time except that at 12 o'clock the pub actually was actually saying that this cyclone is actually going to be. They announced that the cyclone was actually getting worse, and that they were going to close the hotel early. And so we left the hotel probably just after 12.
And
And
that's when it started getting worse as well.
yeah, and
Yeah.
we walked home. We walked home and we could actually feel, well, we weren't scared. We were half cut, but we were getting tossed about the place and realizing that this is escalating. And then it was probably, I would say, maybe. It's hard to tell now because it's been such a while, but half an hour to an hour. It was probably about 1 o'clock, and we lost the roof, and then we lost the walls, and then we realised we got to get out of here, and so we went downstairs and found the rest of them, and there was about must have been about 11 or 12 of us huddled inside this tiny wee room that was. That we barricaded with mattresses and this fishnet.
That's very see the hippie decoration saved your lives probably, or at
It,
least saved you from a lot of
abso-
injuries.
absolutely. It was just, like if you, when I think about it now and I think of all the circumstances, the stars were aligned because that was just fortuitous that that was the decoration that they were using, and we used that effectively as a barricade.
Wow, yeah, that's pretty amazing. That yeah,
Well,
'cause
when
without
I
that,
don't
yeah,
know,
God knows what could have happened.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know if you would. I'm not familiar with roads and that kind of jazz, but I know that at the time we were bordering on a road that actually had like huge oil tanks, like massive oil tanks. They were on the side of on the opposite side of the road to our where our house was.
Trying to think if there's anything like that now, because I've only been up here for 5 years.
Yeah, I very much doubt it. But in the morning, these tanks, these oil tanks, so these massive tanks, these are like thousands of liters. They were penetrated by sheets of iron that had just sliced straight into them.
Far out.
And
Yeah, that's the
and
problem, eh? Debris becomes flying projectiles, though.
oh God, with the amount of galvanized iron that we had a massive gum tree at the back of our house, and it was completely stripped bare. But I remember vividly, it was almost like surreal as bits of galvanized iron were either embedded in the trunk and on the boughs, like Christmas decorations. You know, it's like it's kind of surreal. It was weird. It
Mm,
was you had to see it to believe it, because it was almost like abstract art. This bare gum tree with sheets of iron attached to it in various spots.
yeah, I don't think I could really imagine that without seeing it. That's pretty full
It was,
on.
I mean, this tree was, I mean, it was probably, I don't know, say 50 foot high. I mean, I'm only guessing 60 foot high, but completely leafless and had the boughs that it had, just the main ones, because everything else was broken,
Yeah.
um, and had galvanized sheets embedded in it. As I said, it almost looked like Christmas decorations on a tree.
Huh.
We
Fuck.
we, we couldn't believe it.
No, the only thing that comes close to what I've seen is because I'm originally from Brisbane,
Yeah,
and when I left Brisbane, we went on a road trip to travel Australia. Only came up to Darwin for 1 year, and that was 5 years later. But anyway, when we first went on our trip, we stayed just near Gatton, at this place called Heifer Creek, and it was in the area where where Toowoomba got those big floods
yeah,
in
yeah,
2011. Well,
yeah,
where we were, the water had rushed down there, but way up in the gum trees, you
yeah,
could see corrugated iron wrapped around the trees. So it's
yeah.
not
Like the
quite the same,
debris
but
floating down. Yeah,
yeah, it's not quite the same as seeing it all impaled into a tree, but just the force of nature sometimes is incredible.
yeah, yeah. Well, that was, um, when we were inside and we were waiting for the storm to pass. We had no contact, no, obviously, no radio, no nothing, no telephone communication, no nothing, and we we heard, well, we had after a while we had a bit of a silence, and presumably that was the eye passing
Yeah.
over us. And it was surreal and eerie, and it's hard to put in words, but when the noise that you hear from such ferocity to dead silent, and then when you're all huddled together, you sort of you contemplate, I mean, what's going to happen next. And obviously, it didn't take long before, I mean, the girls that were in our group, I think there was about 3 or 4, I mean, they were sobbing, right? So they were scared shitless. These girls were probably early 20s, no one over 30.
Yeah.
And so they were shit scared. They were crying and all that kind of jazz. And we were trying to console them. And by the time when the calm and we're trying to console them, by the time that we'd actually almost got them consoled, of course, it started up again,
Yep.
which was, I mean, terrifying in itself, because we thought, oh, Jesus, we're not out of this yet.
And it can be
And
worse on the other side as well.
yeah.
Mm.
Well, I mean, we had several penetrations, semi-penetrations through the barricade that we had made, and it was constantly trying to prop it up without getting in contact with obstacles that have been thrown against it. Like the sheets of iron and all kinds of stuff. Right next to us, next to our house, was a crash shop, and that crash shop had lost its roof, but it must have had, like quite a lot of loose panels and stuff like that inside the workshop itself, and they would have been tossed everywhere. I mean, that would have gone everywhere, and because we were obviously in proximity to it, I mean, we probably copped a lot of that
Yeah.
material. In the morning, that was completely obliterated. I mean, obviously the photos show most of Darwin, but it was just totally unrecognizable. It was quite unbelievable. It was surreal. As I said, it was surreal. It was just one of those things that I'll never forget.
Oh,
On
absolutely
top
not.
of Yeah, and on top of, I guess the problems that we had was the lack of communication with our parents. I mean, we had no phones, no radio, no TV, no communication whatsoever to let our parents know the following day that we were okay.
Oh, so they were
And
still down in Adelaide?
correct, they'd just sent me and my younger brother.
Righto.
So me and my younger brother, we stayed with our older brother, who was part of this commune. And my mother and father were almost grief-stricken, thinking that we were dead.
Oh,
Because
they would be,
obviously,
not knowing what the hell's going on. Can't
well, the
imagine the
news,
thoughts they were having.
yeah, well, the news was coming over thick and fast from all parts of Australia about the cyclone that hit on Christmas Eve.
Yep.
And so anyway, what we decided to do was we went, first of all, after the cyclone, we went into the centre of town, and the meeting place was in the law courts in the centre of town.
Yeah.
So we met there with probably about a couple of thousand people, and there was police there and emergency services, so it's best that as there was. And they were advising everybody that the airport had been closed, that there was no way to leave. However, they were trying to secure buses. The roads had been blocked by debris, so it was pointless for us to actually even attempt to leave until probably that night, Christmas Day night,
Yep.
or Boxing Day morning. They said don't even bother leaving beforehand. And the first thing that we were also told was please make sure we have no running water, that you boil your water,
Yep.
right? Because they said we'll probably have contamination in the water supply, so don't trust that. And so any water that you do get, you'd have to boil. The other thing that we were told is obviously because there's no electricity, food in fridges and that would have to be either you could either eat what you possibly could or make sure that you kept provisions. So we had to then make decisions on where we could get food and how we could source it and all that kind of jazz, because we didn't know how long we were going to be there. But the other probably important thing that I should tell you that I don't know what the actual death toll was officially. I think it was bloody either 70 or something like that, or 90. So I can't remember exactly, but I know from my own first-hand experience that we saw quite a few bodies,
Oh, yep.
and unfortunately, I would say probably a lot of Indigenous, basically because they were strewn along the railway tracks to keep warm at night.
Yep.
And a lot of them had no cover whatsoever, and they were just cut to pieces. We saw, my younger brother and I, when we went venturing out in the morning, we saw quite a few limbs around the place.
Oh,
So
probably from flying debris, because yeah, what that could do
yeah,
to a person is I
yeah.
wouldn't want to imagine really, but yeah.
So that was one horrifying reality. But then when we gathered together and we were trying to work out how we were going to get back home, was my brother had a car, but it wasn't exactly in great roadworthy condition to do an interstate travel. So we were actually we actually looked for cars that were either abandoned or had keys in them
Yep.
in the street that we lived, and we actually found a utility. And so four of us, actually no, five of us, we drove on Boxing Day morning to Alice Springs, and from Alice Springs we managed to, my younger brother and I, we managed to get an airplane back home, but my mother and father didn't know that we were on that plane until it basically landed. And so that was 2 days after the event,
Wow.
which was another story in itself.
Yeah, well, that would have. Yeah, I'm not a parent myself, but I can probably imagine what your poor parents would have been going through, not knowing if you were alive or dead or what was going on.
Yeah, yeah. So, but honestly, I guess my age and naivety, my younger brother and myself, we thought it was probably one of the most exciting times that we'd ever had in our lives.
Oh, it would
Um,
be an adventure. That's no doubt about that for a young
uh,
kid. It really would be.
yeah. But, so that's my story.
Well, no, yeah, I've like I said to you in the last time that I'm just doing because the only way that I can actually record it on Facebook is just to do a screen record. So that's what I've done. I've just and it records you talking and me talking, so then I can actually
Okay,
put it on YouTube like I did with the other one.
sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
well,
So
I'm happy to do that if you want to do that at a later stage or whatever you like.
yeah, no, oh no, that's what I've done now. I recorded the
Oh,
whole.
okay.
Yeah, yeah, I've
Oh,
recorded the
sweet.
whole one now. Yeah. I missed. your age earlier, saying that you're 15, but I can cover that, make a little short
Yeah,
video
yeah.
just
So
to say I missed that you were going up for a holiday with your younger brother, wasn't it?
yeah, my
Yeah.
younger brother Marcus.
Yep.
Yeah, he's ironically, Marcus actually he lives there now.
Oh,
My
okay.
older my older brother passed away um, probably about 10 years ago
Yep.
um, from cancer, but my younger brother he turned into a he did his teaching degree. He started in basically Sterling, which is just outside of Alice Springs. And then he moved his way further and further up. And now he is currently the principal at the Darwin Middle High School.
Okay, that's interesting. So there,
Yeah.
he come all the way back up in the
Yeah,
end then. Yeah.
yeah. Ironically, and I'm meeting him there, on at Christmas to celebrate the survivors at East Point.
Oh, yes, yep.
Yeah, so I'm going to be there. So perhaps I'll meet you again.
Yeah, well, I'm been considering. I know I was born 9 years after the event, but I'm definitely interested in going to see because there might be people talking about it there, and
Oh,
yeah, so
definitely. I definitely say there will be.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, that was kind of a stupid thing to say, but
no, I understand. Wanting to talk about it. That's
yeah,
probably what you're trying to say. Yeah, yeah. I think, Steve, it's for me being in its 50th year, and I'm now 65. I look back at it and I just think that, you know, I won't be here when it's 100 years old.
no,
Um, so I'm using this as a like a timeline for my own personal self, thinking that I'm 65. It was 50 years ago, and I was 15, and reliving the memory of it is slightly cathartic because I'm seeing it now that I'm old and trying to visualize how I was when I was 15
yeah,
is it's two different things
it is, it
because
is,
now that I'm old, I look back and I think what a dickhead I was kind of jazz, and and but I still can vividly remember a lot of the details because it was such an experience. It's one of those things that you never forget.
Oh no, absolutely not. No, any big event in your life, you always remember it, even if it's traumatic. But yeah, I had
Well,
another lady that wanted to talk about it, but she's had a lot more of a traumatic experience, so she's had to cancel the last time we came. But she said that she hopes that it will help her heal
yeah,
from the
and
trauma that she went through.
I believe it. I believe it.
Mm.
I well and truly believe it. I mean, I think that there would be a lot of people in that position that would be thinking exactly the same thing.
Yep. So then that's
And
what kind of, I guess, partly I wanted to do because obviously I'm a stranger. None of you know who I am. Like I suddenly just, I mean, I've been meaning to put that video onto that group for ages, but
yeah,
and I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to, people can either say no or like yourself, and hopefully this lady, once she manages to, have
yeah,
been willing to, chat to me and recount what happened for you that
yeah.
night because the point of view from everyone will be different, I think.
Oh, absolutely. And so many people, um, you know, they've it's like a when it happened, it was indiscriminate.
Yep.
So, you get every social demographic. You get the poor person that's got nothing. You get the rich person that's got everything. You get the policeman. You get the doctor. You get everyone was so impacted by the same thing, and dealt the same horrific circumstances. It put everyone on the same playing field. When we met as a mob of probably about, as I said, at the courthouse, about 1,000, maybe 2,000 people, we knew that we had to get together. We knew that we had to band together. We knew we had to help each other, no matter who you were.
Yep.
And that was really conveyed very strongly, that if you don't do this, we're not going to all come out of it.
No,
So
that's
it
it.
was, like one of those things that because they were so afraid of, because of the temperature, the dysentery starting, and anything could happen.
Yep.
I mean, forgetting about the fact that there was looting, forgetting about the police were shooting, forgetting about, all of that other stuff, just pure survival was now starting to really kick in.
That's it. And
And,
that's probably even why people were looting, because of survival
correct.
instinct as well. So
Yeah,
it's not always
that's,
people thinking,
it's,
"Oh,
no-
I'll
it's
go
not,
and steal a widescreen TV," although widescreen TVs weren't around then. But you know what I
no,
mean.
no, no.
Sometimes
The,
people are
the
doing it to
sen-
get food.
Absolutely. This
Mm.
was not for any other reason. This wasn't to get rich.
Yep.
this was this was hardly. This was to try and maintain your existence.
Yeah,
So
preservation
and
comes into play.
correct.
Yep.
And when you see people, we weren't too bad. I mean, we were all young and relatively fit. But when you see older people, people in wheelchairs, people that mums and dads, young mums and dads that were trying to look after toddlers. I mean, what do you think that they're going to do? How
Mm.
do you think? How do you think they're actually going to behave?
Exactly.
If you put yourself in the same predicament, you are actually going to do anything that it takes to make sure that your children are going to be okay, or the elderly are going to be looked after. I mean, you will do it.
Oh, you would
Right.
definitely.
So there's a few interesting facets that actually came out even beyond the cyclone and its terrible damage. It was one of those very, I guess, memorable events where people are put into a totally unique position where they have to make decisions that, uncomfortable as they may be, is pure survival mode.
Yep.
And I think that as time wore on and people became more accustomed to the problems, that's when things started to calm down a bit, and people were, the ones that stayed, they chiseled out an existence. The ones like my brother went back and and stayed and rebuilt. But for a lot of people, I'd say that they left and they never came back.
A lot did you? So your elder brother, he went back afterwards.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. About between 6 months to a year, he went back.
Yep. I would have taken a
And
while um to get the, because I think it was about 80% of the impacted area was destroyed.
yeah,
So yeah, that would have been a massive clear up operation.
oh, absolutely monumental, monumental. Um, we had, uh, when the exodus for us came about, and my younger brother and myself, we landed back in Adelaide. Well, my brother, elder brother, who had driven to Alice Springs. Then he drove from Alice Springs to Adelaide with his friends, and our tiny house in Adelaide, we were supporting nearly, 10, 12 people
Yeah.
because they had nowhere else to go. Darwin was their home,
Yep.
you
And now,
know.
now there was no Darwin for a while,
No,
or at least
no, there's
most of it
none.
wasn't there. Yeah, because I think
So,
if I remember correctly, Daryl, the guy I did the video with, I think he ended up going to Adelaide for a little while as well.
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
think he said it. I can't remember now, but I'm pretty
yeah.
sure that's what he said too.
Well, just as I won't keep you much longer, but just as a side note, this is a really interesting timeline feature for me, was my brother, elder brother, he was he had two people that he brought down from Darwin with him that he was going to give them a lift to Melbourne.
Oh,
And
okay.
yep, so he took a boy and a girl to Melbourne because, not forgetting, um, this was a hippie commune with no one has got bugger all money, so
Yeah,
they didn't have money for airfares or anything like that. So they managed to have enough money for petrol. And so he took them to Melbourne to their home, their parents' place or relatives. And when he came back about 1 or 2 days later, he brought with him a record, right? And do you know what that record was?
nope.
It was Skyhooks Living in the 70s.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna have
And
to
it was,
look at that one because I don't know that one, so I'm gonna have to look it up.
look it up because it went off, and that was a new release that came out of Melbourne, and I think it was the first record in Adelaide. And it's a great timeline for me because when I hear any of the songs that come off of that, it brings me back to the same timeline of that Cyclone Tracy.
Yeah. Well, no, I should be down there, so I probably will run into you down
Yeah,
at that
look,
meeting because that'd definitely
yeah,
be
no,
interesting to attend to.
yeah, I hope so.
So, because I know the lady that I'm meant to be talking to is also going to be there. So,
Okay,
I don't know if we'll do it in person then or if we manage to do it in between. But yeah, so I think I will probably most likely because I'm actually meant to be leaving Darwin. Been saying it for months, but
yeah,
um, just things come up one after each other. So I'm
yeah.
just like bugger it. I'm just probably going to leave in the new year, and yeah, so I'll more than likely be down. What date is it on? Is it actually on New Year's Eve,
No,
Christmas Eve,
no,
or
no. I think it's the 23rd.
okay?
I think it's the 23rd. It's down at East Point where they've made a new I don't know what would you call it, memorial to Cyclone Tracy.
Oh, yep, yeah, I've seen that. That's a bit controversial, that one, but yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's two ceremonies apparently. There's one at the end of November,
Yep.
and then there's one closer to the date, which is going to be the 23rd. So I'm traveling there to meet my brother. Yeah, and just remember 50 years.
Oh, absolutely. Well, no, I will. Yeah, I'll make sure I let you know where I am, and
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be
yeah,
great.
catch up in person. So that'd be
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Well,
All right,
thank you
Nico.
very much. That was very well, basically, an eye opener from a different because I don't really know a lot of people's experience. I mean, you read online, but to
Yeah,
actually talk to someone, it's incredible to hear the actual story from someone that
yeah.
lived through it.
I'm glad. I'm glad you listened. Thank you for listening.
No, thank you for telling your story. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay. All right. You take care, and we'll catch up.
All right, I will see you then.
Okay, mate. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye. So there we have a another story from Stephen or Steve, and then I will catch up with him in person at the actual get together. So I want to thank Steve again for taking the time to speak to me. Thank you.